Hi everyone, this is Amy Riccardi again, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit more today about the Kolbe Wisdom and talk a little bit more about one of the concepts that I've covered recently about diversity in thinking and why this is so important as an executive of an organization and having diversity of thinking in the teams that you work with. So recently, I just did a session about a week ago on several different topics, and one of them is around this concept of why we need to have diversity of thinking on teams that we're working with, and what this actually does for us going forward. And I want to tell a story around this as well. So several years back, I was doing a project for a very large government agency, a three-letter agency. All of us in the U.S. have heard of before and know intimately well. And they were doing a series of week-long activities with emerging leaders around identifying issues in the agency and then coming up with solutions. And they were brought together, 80 leaders from across the organization from different divisions within it, were brought together over a week's period of time. Monday through Thursday, they were to brainstorm in groups of 10, so there are 8 groups of 10, to come up with issues and problems within the agency. And then on Friday, they were giving an oral presentation to the head of their agency plus the head of the agency's agency, basically. So 2 levels up in the organization, which is huge. These are names of people that you see in the news. So it's a very, very big project for these emerging leaders. So there are 8 groups of 10. The first year we did it, the client wanted to use Colby as a little bit of professional development training before the first workshop, but they wanted to ultimately design the 8 groups of 10 people. And they did. They created the 8 groups of 10 based on diversity of divisions that those people came from, based on diversity of age and experiences and all kinds of other things. And it was very interesting in looking at the Colby makeup of all of those individuals on those teams. They've done a really nice job of diversifying the teams with regards to the Colby, kind of inadvertently. But there was one team in particular that while it looked diverse and had lots of diversity in it, every single person on that team of 10 had the exact same Colby profile. And I mentioned it to them on Monday, and I said, actually, even before that, I said, I'm okay with all of the other teams here and the mixes of them. Are you sure you don't want to use Colby to actually design your team so we get some diversity in thinking amongst the teams, which will lead to more efficient and effective problem solving, and we'll get these teams moving and creating even bigger and better ideas even faster and with less issue and with more synergy. And they said, oh, no, we want to go ahead and make these teams ourselves. And I said, fine. I said, but this one team I'm really concerned about because you've got 10 people with the exact same profile. Do you want to mix it up a little bit? No, we're going to leave the teams as they are. By Tuesday afternoon, they had contacted me and said, hey, can you come over to the hotel? That team you were talking about is having some issues. I said, fine. I came over. I walked into a conference ballroom that had been sectioned off for this team for the week. And it was covered floor to ceiling, wall to wall, in those big, giant Post-it sticky notes with notes and data and information plastered all around the room. And it was no surprise to me because they had picked 10 individuals who were all what we call insistent fact finder and insistent follow-throughs to be on this team together. And they were all literally arguing with each other about whose facts and whose information was most correct and how to go about kind of progressing in this project and move things forward. Meanwhile, the other 7 teams were way beyond that at this point in time. By the second day, they had identified their key themes and the things that they wanted to really pursue, and had moved along in the process much, much faster. And it was just such a great example of what we call conative cloning. Even though there was diversity amongst the group when you looked at them, there wasn't diversity in how they problem solve and how they go about taking action. And subsequently, they got stuck in this process. So what we actually wound up doing with them is we broke them off into groups of 2, gave them a very definitive timeline and set them to task, and then had them come back together and debrief the team, and then get the ball rolling a little bit farther. I also stayed in and helped facilitate with some of those that team a little bit longer to help just keep the ball moving and rolling. But it was a really great example of how traditional diversity doesn't necessarily, or how we view traditional diversity doesn't necessarily get you diversity in thinking and problem solving. And I think that's something that's really key to understand. So one of the things I want to show you today, and this is really brilliant, the Colby team has done some research over the years around brainwave research with regards to people working in what I call their conative flow and people working outside of it. And when we're working with our natural abilities, and when you take the Kolbe A assessment and you're doing tasks and activities that are in your conative flow, it'll look something like this. You'll see that the brain waves on this are just absolutely even and mellow and steady. But Kathy Colby did a study with, I think it was 117 leaders from a broad range of backgrounds: sports leaders, business leaders, athletes, government officials, nonprofit leaders, etc. And when they had those same people do activities outside of their conative flow against their natural grain, their brain waves looked like this. Pretty amazing, right? It's pretty shocking. And so when you look at these two side by side, you can clearly see that on the left-hand side, when you're working in your conative flow, a lot less stress on your brain. Right-hand side, a lot more stress on your brain, and a lot more stress, I think, internally as well. So one of the key things about having diversity in thinking, number 1, is making sure that you're leveraging the right people to do the right tasks, and that they're staying in their conative flow. And when people are able to stay in their conative flow and leverage their natural strengths and their natural decision making and the natural ways they like to take action and make decisions, you're reducing stress on those individuals. And it's helping to create more diverse and better thinking around topics, better problem solving, more efficient problem solving, etc. And so I want to really encourage you to consider using Colby in team design, and consider using it in helping you to really move change, innovation, and growth in your organization. It is an amazing tool for leaders to have in their back pocket, and it's an amazing tool to use when creating and designing teams in order to get the ball moving and rolling forward. And so I wanted just to share this really quick video with you about that. If you're interested in learning more, all you have to do is message me and I'll get right back to you. It's Riccardi at HCM 2020. We are a management consulting firm here in the DC metro area, but we work globally with clients to help them use really, really great tools in order to get really big things moving for your organization. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want more, you can always check out our YouTube site at HCM 2020, or message me. I'll be happy to share some more with you. Thanks so much.